What's up, guys? Today we're stepping into uncharted territory. Imagine a world where Monster Hunter collides with Pokemon, where legendary creatures don't just battle, they're hunted, and their remains are forged into weapons and armor fit for elite hunting. In this video, I'm designing a concept character, a hunter clad in armor crafted from the remains of a powerful Pokemon. I've teamed up with the boys again, Melvin and Rui. We spun a big wheel with the 3 starter Pokemon. So we got Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard. And I landed on none other than the mighty Charizard. Now, if you haven't seen my personal collection behind me, you'll notice that he is in fact my favorite Pokemon. So I was very, very excited to get the big fire lizard. Throughout this video, we'll go through the sketching process, talk design inspiration, color theory, and I'll give you guys some tips and tricks when conceptualizing your own concept character. Now, with that being said, let's create something epic. Okay, so as per usual, we're starting with the basic anatomy for the character. Now, I didn't spend too much time on, where all the muscles and everything are going to go super accurately, because basically the whole thing's going to be covered in armor. So as long as you have the proportions close enough, it should be fine, and then you can add the armor on top. As you can see, I haven't even added hair to my guy. He's kind of over here looking like One Punch Man. But I did on purpose make his head a little bit smaller than his body, just to show that he's more of a buff character. You'll notice, like, even when you look at like a bodybuilder, yeah, they got a bigger head than most people, but compared to their body, it does look smaller. And it does make them as a person look a bit more dominant than a regular human. So for this one, I'm going to pull in my Charizard, and then we're going to start designing his armor and see if we can make something really cool. Okay, so I've got my Charizard in. Now, I was going to use the OG Charizard, with the orange skin, but I thought it would be cool to try the Mega Charizard X. I've always been a fan of this design, and because I need to make this Charizard into some armor pieces, this Charizard has some more interesting design elements than the original Charizard, So when we go in and we're going to do some of the armor, we're going to take pieces from the shoulder pieces here, that big spiky wing, the wings themselves. I feel like they could create something really cool. The skull alone with those 2 spikes there and the blue tips, I feel like we can make something really, really nice out of that. And then obviously these blue flames that go through the jaw and the tail are going to make some cool aesthetics for the armor. Okay, so I've started the design process for the armor, and I'm just playing with small sections of the Charizard to see what could look nice on my character. Now, obviously when you start, you want to have your character on a separate layer, set to 50 or 40% opacity, so he's quite light, and then you can do the sketch lines over the top. Now, I was thinking, maybe we take the shoulder pads from this Charizard and then turn them into his shoulder pads, which could be really cool, and especially with the blue tips on the end. I think that could look really nice. But because it's Monster Hunter, and I am also a fan of World of Warcraft from back in the day, I'm thinking more of the oversized pauldrons, like those big, crazy shoulder pads that are going to make him look more of a dominant elite hunter. Whereas the arm section here, I'm pretty happy with. These arm sections are just going to be chunks of, the leathery scales that Charizard has, and just sort of stitched together. And then on the hand, I want to basically have the skull on both hands and create fist weapons, which I think are going to look sick. And I know when Charizard or Charmander dies, the flame goes out, or the flame goes out, then they die. But in my example, I want to have that fire still coming out of the skull, which I think would look really sick. It doesn't have to make 100% sense. It is for a video game. At the end of the day, I think it's just going to look really cool. Okay, so I've spent probably another hour or so designing the character. Now you can see I've gone a lot more intricate with the armor plating. We've added in both of the fist weapons there, and I wanted to really showcase them, so I did them on 2 different angles rather than just copy and pasting and flipping over. I'm pretty happy with these shoulder pads. Okay, so if you look at here, that's actually Charizard's wing, and it's actually bent over the shoulder, and then the blue sections of the wing are just flicking out the sides here, and then they've just been chopped off at the end. And I just feel like overall, when we zoom out and look at him, imagine we just fill him with black. That's going to create a really strong silhouette. And I think even if a monster saw this guy coming and he's just standing in the darkness, he's going to look like an absolute demon. And I'll just quickly break down some of the other design elements that I've chosen. The top section up here, that's just a bit more of the wing sort of bunched together on the back of the helmet. This half of the helmet here with that spike and this side here, I imagine that as the Charizard's skull. So it's a bit brutal, but it is Monster Hunter, so we have the skull cracked in half and then the horns going up. And I still want to have the skin on the horn, so you see the black and then the blue tips. I think that'll be really cool. But the skull section will be like a bone color. And just a cool faceplate like here, that's actually Charizard's hand that claws the face. I thought it looked a bit diabolical, so I thought that'd be a nice little feature to add in there. Now, most of the armor sections are made from Charizard, but there are sections that, would be handcrafted from this hunter. So there's all these like little belt pieces here, this metal section on the collar, lots of little belts. And when you've used one material in the concept design, you want to make sure you carry that through the rest of the design. So that's why I've used, the leather belts throughout the whole thing. They'll be holding up the knee pads, the waist guard, going up onto the chest plate and everything like that. I thought that would be cool, like a belt. I was thinking, do I just do a normal belt buckle or do I do something a bit more crazy? So I've got the actual the bottom jawbone of the Charizard there, which again, a bit brutal, but I think it looks really cool. And then two of the tails coming around the side here. Because you can imagine in a Monster Hunter world, there's many of these Mega Charizard X's, so the more you hunt, the more armor you can make. And with all of it being the skin of a Charizard, it's going to help with these fist weapons that are on fire to make the hunter fireproof. Okay, so he won't damage himself and he'll just be able to beat the crap out of anything else he wants to fire. And then obviously just spikes, which would be, they come from, say, the claws on the feet, the claws on the hand, the teeth. We got spines here, these shoulder spikes, ones on the wings. Okay, so you can take all of these little elements and then add them into the suit. So yeah, I'd say overall he's looking pretty beastly at the moment. Now what we want to do next is start to add the flat colors and then get to the rendering and bring this hunter to life. Okay, so I've gone in and as you can see, I've refined all of the line work on my character to make it look nice and crisp. Now, obviously, if you watch some of my other videos, you'll notice that some of these heavier sections on the armor that come forward more, they have a thicker line weight. And then when you go into these sort of smaller little texture details, they're quite thin. Okay, so make sure to carry that throughout the whole design to make all of the line work look a bit more dynamic. Now, you've probably spotted the big fuck off sword we have over here. If you know me, you know I'd like to do a big giant sword. Now, this is obviously a skull of another Charizard that he's hunted, and we put that onto the guard of the sword. It's got some leather straps with a metal buckle that holds that together. And then obviously incorporated some of the teeth and the spikes from the Charizard to give you more protection when you're holding the handle. Okay, and then at the top here, I've added that nice little feature of maybe it's from the shoulder pad with the two spikes that come up there as well. In case with the pommel you want to use the back. If you can't hit him with the blade, you want to hit him with the back of the sword as well. And then just a really cool sort of jagged, thick blade down the bottom. I think that'll be really nice. And obviously he's got the fist weapons, so he wouldn't be able to hold that with them. But I'm assuming at some point if the fist weapons break or if he just doesn't want to use them, there's a certain monster that he's hunting where he doesn't need the fist weapons. He needs a little bit more range. That's when he pulls out the giant sword and starts cutting them up. Okay, I've zoomed in here and you can see I've actually started to add these little darker shades on the Charizard skin. So essentially these just want to indicate that it's a scaly texture. Because it's a concept character, you don't want to have to go through and draw scales over the whole thing. If you want to take it a step further, maybe you could do like a texture overlay. But this one, we're just keeping it quite simple. So we're just adding these little scale textures throughout. You don't need to overdo it, just do it in little chunks, maybe of like 2 or 3 little patches, and it should convey that there is scales throughout. Okay, so we've got the flat colors down with the textures. Now I just want to show you how I would quickly add shadows to the whole character, and that'll start to make him look nice in 3D. Okay, so we have all of the flat colors selected. Basically what we want to do is just duplicate that layer. So, you know, if I move him, you can see that's another whole layer of colors. Put that back there. We lock the pixels. We go edit, fill, and I've picked my shadow color. And you don't want to go just black. So I've picked like a dark gray with that blue tinge in it. And I've actually eye dropped that from the Mega Charizard Pokemon design. Okay, just so it sort of unifies with the original colors that we've picked. Now, when you have that over the top, you just essentially want to go multiply. And then we can change the opacity down to, let's have a look at 50%. That looks pretty good. You could go 50 to 60%, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then after that, we basically want to get the selection tool and we're going to erase out where the light is hitting. Okay, so make sure you pick a light source. So for me, it's from the front and a little bit above. So we're going to start to pick sections where the light is hitting. Okay, so I'll show you an example of how I do it. I'm just picking some sections and then I'll show you the full version after this where all of the light has hit. Okay, so for example, that's just on the shoulder pad then. If I literally just click delete, you can see that it's got a nice simple version of light and shadow. Okay, now if you go through the rest of the character and do that, it's going to look something like that. Okay, so we go down. I've cut out the flames here because I'm going to work on them separately, but you can see that I've added nice shadows throughout the whole design. And because it's a concept character, you could quite easily just leave it like that for as far as the rendering goes. Or if you want to add a step further, you can add some of the highlights, which I would do as well. Okay, so if we eye drop this color here, that's where your highlight is, and then we just want to go maybe 20 or 30% brighter, and you can just start to paint the specular highlights over the top. Okay, so for that, for Charizard's greyish black tones, you want to use a similar tone. For the browns on the leather, you want to do the same thing. You want to get that and start to just paint in all those specular highlights. Okay, and then again, you do that throughout the whole design, he's going to look nice and juicy, very 3D. Okay, so in this part, I want to show you how I would do the fire texture. Okay, I can't have a Charizard concept art character without showing you guys how to do the fire. So if we eye drop that light blue color, we bring it down, just want to add a darker blue that's a bit more saturated, and we want to go in and redo the line work. Okay, so I feel like it's always a good idea when you're doing elemental energies, you know, your fires, waters, winds, electricity, all that kind of stuff, is don't have a black outline. Okay, so I'll just quickly add that blue line to this fire. Okay, so we've got the blue outline. Then what we want to do is eye drop again, so we have that color. Go a bit darker, a bit more saturated once again. Get your soft round brush. Then I'm going to select overlay and just brush it softly from the back of the fire towards the front of the jaw. Okay, so basically what I want to show is that the front of the fire near the jaw of the skull is the hottest, so that's going to be the lightest, and then it gets darker as the fire sort of fades away. Okay, so we've got that. Gives it a nice gradient. And then on top of that, we want to add some texture. Okay, so let's make another layer, and we essentially just start using the selection tool to make all of these spiky little chunks throughout the flame. Okay, so the first time you do this, they might look a little bit funny, but the more times you practice, the better they're going to look. Okay, they don't have to be perfect, but they sort of just cut in and out of each other, creating these nice little shapes. Okay, pretty simple, pretty quick. And then we can obviously highlight that again. And this time we want to go a lighter blue. So we bring up the value, increase the saturation to like almost an aqua kind of blue. And then we soft round brush again, and we brush that in. Okay, so do it harder at the front of the fire, where it's, like I said, where it's the brightest, and then it sort of tapers off. Just slowly let your hand come off the screen, and it'll sort of not make a nice gradient towards the top. Okay, and that is how I'd make a nice stylized fire texture. Okay, so I'll finish up the rendering. I'll have to go in and color the sword as well, add in the rest of the background, and really cement it as a nice concept art piece. And then we're going to get to the reveal with the boys. All right, what's up, me boys?
Hello.
What's going on?
Hello, Governor.
Oh, not a lot. Just a bit of change of pace with the Monster Hunter X Pokemon designs.
Bit of a
man.
new challenge.
Yeah, I'm really keen to see what you did with this one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And in the timeline for the people that haven't watched yet, we've watched Melvin's Venusaur design, which was phenomenal. So if you want to go check that out, you can watch his one.
He killed
And
it.
we also saw Rui's tanky Blastoise design. So go over his page and check that one out if you want to watch it too. Now, without further ado, I think we get the Charizard design up.
We got
Bring
the big
it
boy.
up, my friend.
Yeah.
Whoa, what?
You're annoying.
What?
Dude.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, that
the hell?
you know me. I don't know about storylines, but I go for cool spiky.
Yeah, you definitely pulled the cool factor off. This is nuts.
Definitely got the
Yeah,
cool.
thanks, bro.
Oh my god, his claw going
Yeah.
over his face. That is beastly.
Yeah, I thought that'd be a sick little design element.
Those
Oh my
gauntlets.
lord.
Those gauntlets.
But yeah,
like flame
so-
gauntlets.
Yeah, essentially it doesn't really make sense, but obviously in the image there of the Charizard, the flames are coming out the side of the mouth. So I
Yeah.
thought that if they just continue, he's got like these like fist weapons that are the Charizard's skull, and he just can punch her with and use the fire energy as well. So
That
I thought
is
that'd be
wild.
That's
so that'd be
crazy.
a fun little take. And obviously you'll notice that you guys did the standard Venusaur and the Blastoise, but I've gone for the Mega Charizard.
You
X.
went mega.
Yeah.
The reason I did that, I freaking love the OG Charizard with the orange skin, but for me, he didn't have enough design elements that I wanted to use in the armor. So for this one, I love like the extra
Wings.
spikes that he's got on, like the wings. They have it's like a different type of wing. The spikes have the blue tips. The shoulders have like extra spikes, the
Yeah.
spine and everything. So
Yeah.
I just thought it would give me a couple extra little things to use.
You know what? It's giving World of Warcraft vibes. Like this
Yeah.
would
a little bit of that,
100%
yeah.
be an armor set in WoW.
For sure, yeah.
Also,
they're both
Monster
games
Hunter,
where
but it's
the-
got that look.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're both
I-
games where they
I-
have like absurdly chunky armor and stuff, right? But
Yeah.
it definitely feels like it could fit in both. Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
so cool.
And I used like I initially was going to use just most of the black skin and like the scales and stuff for the shoulder pads and just have spiky and stuff. But I was like, what if I actually got the wing and it's actually like bent around
Wrapped
the
around,
shoulder
yeah.
and then the wings are cut and like sort of shoots out the sides there.
That's morbid and awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of demented,
I love it.
but I thought it'd be cool. And like obviously all of his skin and everything and the wings are all like fireproof, so that lets him able to wield the fiery fist weapons without getting burnt.
Yeah. Fire
there you go.
resistant armor. I
Yeah.
love that.
That's awesome.
And yeah, the sword, I initially wasn't going to do a sword. I'm like, the fist weapons are enough, but I'm just like,
The
if
skull.
they for whatever get damaged or he doesn't want to use them, he's got that giant fuck off sword.
That skull is juicy. I love that. I love that weapon. Normally
Yeah.
the skull is like on the other side, but I actually really like it being on the like the bladed edge bit.
Sort of like a guard, as if like
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
you'd be
yeah.
holding it. Yeah.
yeah. I wanted it
so
to
sick.
because in like Monster Hunter, there is a lot of asymmetric stuff going on. Like, I mean, my character mostly is pretty symmetrical, but with that blade, yeah, I thought, how can I sort of mix it up a little bit? So even like the straps on it are all a bit crooked, and then the claws and that are sort of poking out in random directions. But for the most part, if you're holding that, like all of that skull and claws and everything are going to protect your hands. So yeah,
This is wild. This is wild.
Yeah.
I can't even
man.
pick a favorite out of you two. I can't do it.
I think they're all sick as.
They're so different.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully, people can let us know down in the comments. Go watch all 3 videos. Let us know your favorites. Let us know other Pokemon that you want to see
Yeah.
or other design challenges,
Oof.
because this was a nice change of pace from the rival stuff, and like I had a blast. I know you guys had a lot of fun doing it, and Yeah, if you
Rui
like
had
the
a
video, give us
Blastoise,
the Blastoise. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you're new, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.